place on unceded and unsurrendered Mi'kmaq territory.
Tonight's debate is co-hosted by the Canadian Federation of Students, the Dalhousie Student Union, and the Nova Scotia Community College Waterfront Student Association. Every year, 35,000 university and college students call Halifax home. We make up nearly 10% of the city's population, and that's why student issues are municipal issues. During tonight's debate, you will see our mayoral candidates answer questions based on the issues important to you. These will include video questions recorded in advance and questions submitted through Facebook.
The format for tonight's debate is simple. After a question, each candidate will have up to 5 minutes to respond. We'll alternate who goes first each question. Amina and I are keeping time, and we'll give cues at 2 minute, 1 minute, and 30-second marks. There will be no rebuttal period. At the end of this debate, we will draw a winner for the Meet Your Candidates Bingo, and then we invite you to join us for a social at the Muse Cafe and Pub.
Throughout the debate, we encourage folks to engage through Twitter, Facebook, and other social media platforms using the hashtag GenVote. If you haven't already, you can go to generationvote.ca and pledge to vote. If you pledge, we will send you an email reminding you to vote during advanced polling and on October 15th.
To start our debate, I'd like to invite each candidate to introduce themselves and explain why they'd be a great mayor for students and youth. You'll each have 5 minutes, and I'll ask Lil to start us off.
Okay. I'm looking for my pen after I do this. Okay. Well, in order for you to be able to vote for someone as mayor, I think it's really important for you to get to know them, where they came from, and their values. So I'm going to tell you a little story, just how I got here. So over 12 years ago, there was a hurricane that hit this province, and it really affected me deeply. I've been working in the restaurant business my whole life, and been thinking about food, being a mother, all the time. So the hurricane scared me quite significantly, and I found myself in my room at home, in the dark, where everybody else was for 9 days, and thinking about where my food came from. And so I thought, well, what am I going to feed my own children when that hurricane one hit? But I also started to think of how we were as food security for Nova Scotia. How much food do we have here in this province? We're almost an island. We're up north. And this question scared me. So I started looking into answers. I started asking government and farmers and anybody I could ask, how much food do we have left if we get cut off from the rest of the world? And the answer was 3 days. That really scared me. And it's a terrible business model. And the food that we bring in is 90% of the food is from away. And it's terrible. It's not a good system. It's from all the industrial agriculture. Because I've been studying food a lot for the last 10 years, and especially when I was pregnant, really serious about being mom. So being in the restaurant business, I thought, I want to open a restaurant that supports a new food system for us, for me, my children, and for you. So the Wooden Monkey was born. I don't know if you've heard of it, but I am the founder of the Wooden Monkey Restaurant. And I wanted to support farmers of Nova Scotia and build a food system up that's healthy for us. So that changed my life. Then I started to get involved. I was asked to get involved in the climate change project with Al Gore and David Suzuki and 200 other Canadians. That started changing my life. I said, okay, so I started to get involved with food and then climate change. I went to 2 other camps, totally changed my life, going down there and getting together with people from all over North America and listening to world scientists talk about climate change changes you. It scared me a lot, scared all of us. So I started thinking more about food, because the climate change affects food, and food affects climate change. Of all the industries in the whole wide world, the most will be affected by climate change. The change of the climate will be a food. So it's a big deal. So then I decided to go to United Nations Climate Change Conference. Very, very interested in climate change. That's when my fear started to turn to hope. I went to Copenhagen, I went to Mexico, and then I went to Paris. And I'm telling you guys, to go to the world, it's the biggest party in the world. It's really exciting. And what moved me the most was you guys. The youth were there, strong, fighting for their future, fighting for a new world. And it was almost tearful. But it was really exciting, because all the innovation is coming from you. And then I started to see the green economy, huge. I was like, oh my God, we got to go back and do this. This is amazing. You guys will be known as the hero generation. This is the generation that we have to do this, by the way. We don't have any more. Climate change isn't going to go away tomorrow. It's here. And I'm really excited to come home and go, okay, I want to get going here. We need this for you guys. There's so much opportunity now because everything has to be redesigned. Energy, food, cooling, heating, repackaged, everything. The whole world needs to be redesigned. So I was watching this in Paris and Copenhagen and hearing mayors after mayors after mayors and municipalities' role in tackling climate change. It was really exciting. And I want a piece of that. I want you guys to have a piece of that. This is the biggest opportunity for job creation in the world since World War II. It's huge. These jobs are coming and they're going to be yours. So I thought, I got so excited. I want to come home here and go, okay, well maybe I should run for mayor. I want to green this city. We got to get going. There's lots of food security and energy and all kinds of systems that we can touch because I'm all about the infrastructures of our city. I love art and music and the whole package. So that's why I'm here today. I'm a mom. I'm very scared about climate change. We have no choice. The municipality and the mayors and the councillors have to get on board and start to get serious climate targets, but while building our city. So I hope you enjoyed tonight, and I hope you like all our answers and questions, and it's great to be here with Mike on stage. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Lil.
Yep.
I'll turn things over to Mike.
Thank you very much, and thank you for acknowledging that we're on the traditional lands of the Mi'kmaq people, and we all are beneficiaries of peace and friendship treaties with the Mi'kmaq Nation. We are an education town. Students define our city in so many ways, socially, culturally, and economically. As a father of one daughter who's in university, and she goes to a foreign university. She goes to St. FX, not that far away. And my son, who's here with me tonight and will be going to university a year from now, God willing, Connor. So great to be here. I used to be an MP. I was a member of Parliament. What I worked on was these issues, student issues. I was the opposition critic for the Liberal Party for human resources, social development, and the status of persons with disabilities. One of my biggest files was university. I traveled the country. I talked to CFS from one end of this nation to the other, and other students groups. And we fought for things like grants for low-income Canadians, for Indigenous Canadians, for people with disabilities. And we had a hard go, to be very honest with you, in the last government, and I'm certainly much more hopeful of the new government. Collectively, university, college, students are one of our greatest assets, and we're going to have a chance to talk about some of those issues tonight. So let me just set the stage of where Halifax is from when I ran for mayor 4 years ago. For the first time, we're one of the high-growth cities in the country. We were third last year. We were second this year, according to the Conference Board of Canada. When I decided to run for mayor, we were 12th out of 13. We're a greener city. Lil talked about the environment. Halifax was chosen as the Green Champion Municipality of the Year of all the municipalities in Canada last year. I'm one of the mayors who gets asked to go and speak about what we've done on the environment here in Halifax. And I've been across Canada and often get asked about some of the things that Halifax is doing, like our Solar City program. You know, the first city in the country to adopt Solar City, which allows people to put solar panels on the roof and pay for it over time on their property tax. We're a more entrepreneurial city, a more diverse city. So proud of the fact that we had 1,000 Syrians come to Halifax last year. It was just about a year ago today that people awoke to this issue, and there's refugees across the world who need our help. But the Syrian one kind of caught the minds and hearts of Canadians, but the government did not react quickly enough. I became co-chair of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities committee on how to settle and bring in and help these Syrian refugees be successful. We have better transit. We have more bike lanes. We're more actively engaged. We're more open as a city. We encourage more participation. We have less secret council meetings. We're doing things that the city never did before. Affordable housing, immigration, health, food security. These are all things we've taken on in the last 4 years. And you know what? I was with a group of students this afternoon. They told us that we're a cooler city than we were 4 years ago. We recognize and we invest in arts and culture. We provide opportunities for young people. One of the first things we did, and this was a promise I made in the last election, was that we were hearing about students coming out of university and college who couldn't get experience. We set up a program called Bridging the Gap, where we bring right out of university and college into the city an opportunity for young people to work in the city of Halifax to get experience so they can then go forward. I have an international student reception every year now where we invite 500 to 600 students who come and talk about the great things that are happening in Halifax. So New companies are happening. Some of you may hear the Volta Labs have done great work. Propensify, Dash Hudson. We got all kinds of companies now that are doing neat work, providing more opportunities in a vibrant community where you can be in a canoe in half an hour, or you can be surfing at Lawrencetown and Cow Bay in half an hour too. So we're protecting green space. I want to talk about those things we can do. But for the first time in a long time, I can honestly say I think our city is a progressive, sustainable, innovative, inclusive community, and that makes me very proud. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike.
So our first question is a video question on fair wages.
Hi there, my name's Zoe, and I'm a student at the University of King's College studying gender and women's studies and social anthropology. This fall, more than half of the students returning to classes are going to be working minimum wage jobs to help pay for their tuition, their rent, their groceries, and all their other expenses. And that minimum wage is tied to inflation. But as we know, our expenses are increasing at rates faster than inflation. Tuition on its own, for example, is increasing at a rate 7 times the rate of inflation. The minimum wage currently in Nova Scotia sits at $10.70 an hour, whereas a living wage has been calculated at $20.10 an hour. Wherein the City of Vancouver has committed to paying their workers a living wage. If you're elected, what will you do to ensure that Halifax workers are paid a fair wage of $15 an hour, if not more?
So I'll ask Mike to answer first.
Well, as a city, of course, we do pay fair wages. Most of our workers are public sector workers. We negotiate with them in a fair and reasonable way. And, you know, a lot of people feel that government workers have a pretty good deal. And compared to a lot of people, they do. But that doesn't mean that we have less responsibility to be fair and honest and provide a kind of a living for our workers that we can. One of the things I'd like to see us do, and as part of my platform, is we've done a lot on inclusion and diversity. And everywhere I go, I mention this pin I'm wearing. It's our new symbol of inclusion and diversity in the city of Halifax. And we're looking at issues of those people who aren't able to share in the success that Halifax has had as a high-growth city. So we're working on things like affordable housing that I hope we have a chance to chat about later on. But here's an idea that I would have. I would like to see Halifax be a pilot for the basic income in Canada. The federal government have indicated, Jean-Yves Duclos, the Minister of Human Resources, has indicated that he's interested in seeing if the basic income, where you guarantee a certain income for all Canadians, and you can collapse some existing programs into that, others you would keep, but a basic income that would mean that everybody would have the opportunity to live above the poverty line. I'd like to see us as a city be that. I also have said as part of my campaign that I want to co-chair an anti-poverty plan for Halifax, anti-poverty and anti-social exclusion, where we set targets, bring people into the table and say, what is it that we can do in Halifax? Yeah, we're doing pretty good as a city, but there are people who are left behind. And what are we going to do to make sure that nobody is excluded from the opportunities that exist? I've called for 2017 to be a landmark year of inclusion and diversity for Halifax, where we look at the recommendations of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission for Indigenous persons. We look at African Nova Scotians who are underemployed. A real push on people with disabilities who tend to fall below the poverty line, and not only in terms of accessibility, but in terms of jobs. We should set a target. I want to do a survey of our workforce and make sure that we're hiring people with disabilities. We've done a lot on the LGBTQ community. I'm proud of that. I was one of the MPs who was on the committee that brought in same-sex marriage back in about 10 years ago. And I think there's a lot we can do. A more diverse city, a more inclusive city where everybody gets to share in the benefits of our success is a better city for everybody. And that's one of my commitments.
Thank you, Mike. Lil?
Great, thank you. I thought a lot about that because being in the municipality and workers, I am an employer, but I've been an employee longer than employer, so I've kind of had both sides. But I've been a waitress my whole life for 25 years, and I work with hundreds of students. Students seem to be waitresses when they're going through university, so I really feel your pain, you know, for sure. And also, we hire a lot of students. So I started thinking, trying to get creative, how we can bring more employment in HRM. And I was thinking about plowing, you know, how we outsource plowing. It's a big job in HRM, especially come in the winter. And I think we hire big contractors. And maybe there's three different circles. Maybe there's, you know, 3 different sections of the city. So these big contractors, that's a big job. You have to have a lot of money to be able to handle this plowing contract. and they can't handle it all. So they outsource it as well to other smaller contractors. They contract a lot of that out to smaller businesses and smaller people. And they're the ones out plowing all night for us. They're having their equipment break. Couple of my sons actually did a lot of plowing. So when you're worried outside, they're working all night. It's dangerous conditions, it's snow, it's plowing. So I thought, and they're getting not paid like they should be because it's going through, the higher contractors. The big businesses are making more money. So I thought maybe we should just get rid of that. Let's try a pilot project and get rid of that model and just forget about the middleman and divide the city up into, 16 districts or whatever that would be, that equation would be, and hire all small businesses off the chart. So everybody gets the fair wage that they deserve because they're doing the plowing. I thought, well, that might work. I mean, we're going to learn from that. It's going to take a lot more work and more organizational skills. We'd have to hire someone to oversee the whole thing. But it can be done because I've done it myself in my own business. Most restaurants, 95% of the restaurants have about 3 suppliers, same thing. They outsource it. They bring all the food from everywhere and they bring it to your restaurant. We don't do that. We buy from 18 farms. And we have about 40 small suppliers. It's very complicated and it's very challenging, but it's really rewarding. The most amazing thing that I get to do as a restaurant owner and as an employer, even in the city, when a farmer comes through my door, I get to do something amazing. I get to write him a check, and he gives me his food, and I get to cook it, and I get a paycheck. The same thing. I thought, wow, look at the local economy that we're growing. If we stay lower on the small businesses. So instead of maybe HRM hiring 3 big contractors and setting the money out and them hiring all kinds of small little bees, let's share the beehive. Make 16 more small businesses and everybody will get the money. So this is how my brain works. I'm always trying to brainstorm how we can get more of a living wage to the person that actually does the work. It's an idea I have. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Mike and Lel. Our next question comes to us through Facebook and is about the environment. Cities across Canada have said no to coal and have had amazing results in improved air quality. Does your sustainability plan for our city include eliminating coal? And I'll ask Lil to go first.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Yes, of course. I mean, being a climate change presenter, and that's actually my green platform. If you get on my website, lilforchange.com, you'll see it's a pretty extensive environmental website. But I think we have to. We have to evolve as a city. We have to evolve as a country. And through municipalities, we can do great things. One of the situations I was seeing the other day, I was talking with District Energy, and I found out in our city, District Energy is really amazing. It's an amazing way to cut emissions, and they're doing it all over the world. So I found out that we're actually having a District Energy. We have in the BMO Centre out in Bedford, there's District Energy in the BMO Centre they're using to heat their building. It makes a lot of energy, but we're only using 25% of that energy that building's making to heat the building. 25%. 75% of the energy that they're making is going up in the air, out the smokestacks in the atmosphere, the steam. 75% of that energy, that could be piped in, and that's what you do at District Energy. That could be piped to 300 homes right around that BMO Centre and into a school, heating it for free. Or maybe we can make some money as a municipality selling this energy. So there's really innovative ways that I've seen all over the world of how we can transform. The Solar City's fantastic. But my question is, we only launched it out once. Where's it been the last 4 years? We should have hundreds and thousands of homes. Solar City should be going for 4 years. So I'm questioning what happened to the last 4 years. And I know there's also a Solar City project in HRM somewhere in somebody's desk for businesses. Be great. All these initiatives, we need to really grab a hold. There's actually a fantastic initiative from a municipality leading the charge in the province in Bridgewater. They've got a sustainable developer down there that's rocking it. And he's got a program, municipal program, and heat pumps. Anyone that wants to buy a heat pump, bringing your energy down through a municipality. They pay for it, install it. The money you save on the electric bill is dropped so low, and the price you would pay on your bill for the unit almost comes even. It's a cost zero. This is in Bridgewater. So let's grab these wonderful, easy initiatives and bring them in the city. There's lots of wheels out there. You know, when I was over in Paris, you know, I heard all these mayors get together. There's a whole pack of them. And that's all they do. They get together and they share wonderful ideas of innovation. And, oh, your city's great. We could do that. We had Malmo, the deputy mayor of Malmo, come here just the other week. Wicked. It's like a sister city, very, very close to what we have. Almost same size. We both have a port. You know, it's very close. They have a lot of industry. They decided they're going to switch the whole city, start to turn it green. It was amazing presentation. Blow you away. It's really exciting. So he was going around our city and just kind of looking at what we're doing. But we can do much more. That's why I'm running. I really believe we're just putting curtains up in the city. We need to really get deep and get serious about climate change and climate change targets for our city. I don't even know if we have a climate change target. But I know we can be better. So, thank you.
Thanks, Lil. I'll turn it over to you, Mike.
Well, as I said, we were chosen the Green Champion municipality. There's 3,400 municipalities in the country, and Halifax was chosen as the Green Champion of the Year in 2015. Why? In part because of Solar City, and I can tell you, this hasn't been forgotten. I'm sure you would have seen this in the news. We just, in fact, as council, endorsed a second iteration of Solar City because people are interested in this. And, you know, I've been to houses when people have had these solar panels put on the roof. It's pretty dramatic. And, you know, we have been the leader in Canada on that issue. But it's more than that. We're looking at a thing called Alderney 5, which is an interesting kind of geothermal. We have it in existence now at Alderney Landing over in Dartmouth, where we not only take the cooling of the water, but we can take that cooling and store it in rocks so that it stays the cooling in the winter, and we can use it in the summer. That's groundbreaking. We've transformed a lot of our buildings by making them more energy efficient. We've done it on Perfect. And private sector development has been cool too. There's buildings not far from here, the Granary Lofts, which is entirely devoted to reducing energy. And every unit in there, you can go in and there's a computer when you walk in the door, and it tells you how much water you've used. It tells you how much water has been saved that day and what the temperature is and how much energy you've used to heat your water and everything else. It's pretty cool. Lil mentioned Malmo. The folks from Malmo were here, and they were blown away by what we're doing on environmental initiatives. Watershed work, LIDAR mapping, sea level rise. We're a sea level, we're a sea city. We've got the oceans that lap right up to our shore. And we've got some of the best lakes you'll find anywhere. And these folks couldn't believe what we're doing. They're a port city as well. They're not doing that as we're doing that. And they were quite amazed that we were on the verge of saying to our staff, go out and buy Blue Mountain Birch Cove, which is thousands of acres of land, which we don't want to be developed, that we don't want to be privately developed and taken out of the hands of regular citizens. All of us that want to go and have a walk, we're doing the same thing with the Purcell's Cove backlands, because you don't need a membership card to go there. You don't have to buy anything. You just get there. You can take a bus, and then for the next 3 or 4 hours, you can wander in wilderness that hasn't changed. Last week, I went out to the Eastern Shore. We have a beautiful asset called the 100 Wild Islands. And some of you maybe don't know the city if you're students from away, but you might want to go out sometime. And you get out there, you get on a Zodiac, and they will take you on a tour of some of the most pristine archipelago lands in Canada. And the city is involved in making sure that, and we're working with the Nova Scotia Nature Trust to buy those that are privately held and bring them back into the public lands so that these are available to everybody. And these things cost money. And some people say, why would you buy that? The reason we buy it is because these things should belong to all of us. And they're not only environmental assets, but they're also economic assets. And they make us better, and they take advantage of that. Is one thing we have in this municipality is space. And if we use it appropriately, we can densify the core of the city, which we're doing, protect our green spaces, and have good development. That's why we were chosen as the Green Municipality of the Year last year.
Thank you, Mike. Our next question is a video question on affordable housing.
Hi, my name is Michael Davis Cole. I'm a Dalhousie student studying at Shoeless Law School. My question is about food security, and as we know, food security is when an individual can secure enough healthy food for themselves and their family. Here at Dalhousie, we have a food bank. I'm the food bank commissioner for this year. A lot of students now are relying on that food bank to help make things meet because they just cannot afford the price of food out there anymore, as well as paying for tuition and rent. But unfortunately, that's just a Band-Aid situation. The fact is that people should be able to afford to eat healthily and to come to school and to pay for transit, but that's just not happening in this province. It's not a sustainable model and demonstrates a lack of food security in the province and a need for change, a need for the students to speak up. This province is heavy in students. If the students speak up, it gives them a large voice here. And students are the ones that suffer the most from food insecurity. A lot of them, this is the first time away from home, and the food security they had before was what was in their mother's fridge. They have no understanding of shopping, and so when they get here and then they find out what the prices for things, they realize that they can't afford healthy food, they can't afford salads, they can't afford greens and grains. Everybody says eat locally, but local foods are 3 times the price of what a chocolate bar is. So everybody ends up eating sugar and living off of that. What kind of model can you help come up with that will help us with food insecurity in this province and in this school?
So that was actually a question on food security.
Just kidding.
And I'll ask Mike to answer first.
Well, you know, I used to, as a member of Parliament, I used to do some work on food security. We had a number of workshops down here in Halifax before people really knew what food security meant. And I was looking at it from the point of view of who can afford good food. And we do have an issue of food security. One of the things that I'm kind of proud of is that a couple of years ago, we're sitting around my office, myself, Josh Bates, who works with me, and we're talking about we've got food deserts in our municipality, and how do we get food to people that need it? And we came up with this idea of the mobile food market. And people said, okay, how are you going to do that? And I said, well, we need to get the food out to people who don't have the ability or the transportation or just don't have access to good food. We called Halifax Transit, we bought them in, we said, we need your help. They said, how do we help? I said, okay, let's get the food out. We bought in our other partners, people like the United Way, the Ecology Action Center, and we said, let's try this model. And we worked out a deal with a supplier so that we could get food on the bus, and then we went into communities where we knew there was an issue of food security, and we said, are you interested in this? Because we're not going to impose this on anybody that doesn't want it. And we had a number of parts of our city that said, absolutely, we need this. The first one was East Preston, the second one was North Preston. We've been to Spryfield, Fairview, North Halifax. And we started doing this, and you know what? I was at the first one in East Preston, and the lineup was amazing, and it's been amazing ever since. And I brought to our Community Planning and Economic Development Committee just a couple of weeks ago that this shouldn't be a pilot, that we should extend this into next year, and starting in January, we're going to continue this work. One area that said, look, we do have an issue of food security, but we're working on something else, was Dartmouth North. They have the Dartmouth Food Center. When I was running for mayor, I met a guy named Nick Saul in Toronto who had an organization called the Stop in Toronto, which said that the traditional food banks don't work. You get food that's high salt, that's high fat. It's the cheapest stuff. It's the stuff that everybody gives away. That's not the model for food. We need to have places where people can grow food. We need to have places where people can learn how to cook food, learn the nutritional value of food, know why fruits and vegetables help them and their families. So I said, great, what do you want to do? We want to do it in North Dartmouth. They didn't have a place to do it. I called Sobeys. I called somebody I knew that worked with Crombie that was part of Sobeys. And we got Sobeys to give a store in the north end of the city, which they had closed. And we said to them, you know, you've closed this store. You could use a lot of sort of good publicity in the community. Why don't you work with us? They jumped on it, and they gave it rent-free for 10 years. That place now has people going to it every day. They've added beds where they can grow food. That's the kind of solution that we can have. And I really believe that it's where a mayor can use a little bit of his or hers influence and bring people to a solution and convince them that we can do things. I want to have an anti-poverty plan for this city that looks at food security, that looks at where the problems are, but we are making some really cool strides in ways that I don't think people ever thought we would do. You know, this is not the kind of thing the city used to do, but it is the kind of thing the city does now. It's the kind of thing a city should do.
Thank you, Mike. Lil?
Thanks, Mike. That was amazing, and I know, thanks. So, good job. It's serious. That's awesome. That's what we need. We need lots of that. And I know Nick personally, and I've been involved in the food center over in Dartmouth. It's amazing. And instead of feeding, it bothers me always, instead of feeding homeless people secondhand food, we need to feed them farm food. And, you know, this is really important too with students coming in here. You know, your brain doesn't work right if you're not eating well, period. You have to start your day with a full belly. But of course, food security I love. I want to build more food security. We can do amazing things in this city, the municipality. I went on the mobile food bus. I went to every district with them. It was awesome. I went to East Preston, North Preston, and Spryfield, and Fairview, and North Halifax, and it's amazing. I met the people, looked at the food. This is a fantastic project, and I'm so glad you guys said yes to it, to continue. It's wonderful. So I started talking to a lot of people, and it's amazing. There was a lot of refugees that showed up. They are fantastic, just hanging around, volunteering. Just came in, but they're amazing farmers. We started talking, obviously, the conversation was food security the whole time we were there, in every location. Even to East Preston, North Preston, we talked about food security. And then, okay, well, here's an idea I have. We have all this municipal land everywhere, tons of it. I think we should set up incubator plots on these lands everywhere for people that want to farm. Now, of all of Canada, Nova Scotia has the more people that want to farm, and anywhere in the country, they're here in Nova Scotia. We want to farm. We love food security, so let's grab a hold of that. So I was sharing this idea with the refugee who's an amazing farmer. He goes, yeah. So we could take these pieces of land, we have lots of them. Instead of mowing, let's grow. Give them to these farmers. Give them some seed money, some shovels, some help. Get them started and say, look, here, even a plot this size of this gym right here would make amazing amount of food. We could feed 100 families with this plot. Give them money, help them get going, and let them grow. Then they'll sell that food locally or wherever they want to, but hopefully locally in the community. And let's do this all over 16 districts. I sat out East Preston with a bunch of guys there, and we were just looking over all this land. I said, wow, farming would be amazing. We need urban agriculture. It's going along everywhere else in the world. Food security would rise. We would build community, food security, health, happiness. You know, it's just great. So I propose that we have these incubator plots throughout HRM and get growing in this food. We also have to change the policies in the municipality as well, because it's not working right now. As we know, we can't have chickens in the city and chickens anywhere, but we have to change that, right, Mike? That's right.
We don't charge anybody for having chickens.
Okay, but we took the chickens away from the guy in Sackville, I think.
No, don't think so.
Okay, good. Well, that's what we need to do. But also, I think we need to have farms that we can actually, have animals to come in and teach the people. So you have these farms all over HRM. We can do this. There's a beautiful farm, the Heritage Farm in Cole Harbour High. Cole Harbour is the Heritage Farm, and it's beautiful. The gardens are amazing, and then they have a little restaurant there where they pick all the food, and that's where they're cooking. Urban agriculture is really a great avenue. And plus, I forgot this one. Plus, set up commercial kitchens in all 16 districts, in the communities. So you can actually say to a bunch of people getting together out there, saying, wow, we can grow all these tomatoes, because Johnny over there got award-winning tomato sauce. They can book that commercial kitchen, go in there, can that tomato sauce, and sell it. So now we're showing entrepreneurship, health, community, inclusion. Everybody's coming together at the table and cooking, teaching people to cook, teaching people to make a business. And the one wonderful thing about urban agriculture and literally greening our city, is it sequesters carbon. That is talking on the world stage right now. We can actually get the number down. In growing food the right way, we can actually pull up carbon from the atmosphere back down to the soil. This is really critical work. So now we're helping climate change, we're feeding the poor, we're affordable food, it's really healthy, we're growing community, we're helping the refugees, we're putting them, they want to farm. It's great. If we just really need to get a good food strategy, for municipality and really grab a hold of the food box. There's a huge opportunity in there. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Lil and Mike. So I hope our next video question is actually about affordable housing. Yes, excellent.
Hi, my name is Julia Simone. I'm a student at King's and I study journalism. With over 35,000 students living in the city, a lot of us end up renting houses or apartments in the area. Working in my students' union office, I often hear students complaining about how they're struggling to pay the rent or how they're having to deal with very difficult landlords. This can cause a lot of problems because many students, especially first-time renters, feel that they're stuck with subpar housing and subpar landlords. So my question for you is, if elected, what will you do to ensure that students and youth have access to affordable and high-quality housing?
Great. So I'll turn it over to Lil to answer first.
Okay. Yes, everybody, homes first. Everybody needs a home, that's for sure. So I had this idea about affordable housing. I was really thinking, okay, how can we densify the city fast and have affordable housing? So I think we should be allowed anywhere in HRM to have granny suites, to have an apartment in their homes. People are doing it anyway. They're doing it illegal, so we may as well just make it legal. But I thought, wow, what's the spin-off of that? Say we have 200,000 homes in HRM. I don't know the exact number, but let's just say for numbers, for simple reasons. If we have 200,000 homes in HRM, and only 10% of people put apartments in their basements, that's 20,000 new affordable homes right away, affordable housing right away. And so it also helps the person that has the home. If there's two students or a new couple, a young couple that want to buy a home, they get, wow, we can put an apartment in our house now and help diversify the income and pay the mortgage. An older couple that wants to stay in their home and maybe they're having difficult in money, they get to put an apartment in their home. I thought, wow, this is a great idea. Then all of a sudden I thought, okay, look at all the jobs that we created. Because everybody's going to be building these apartments. Okay, so we need plumbers, carpenters, electricians, drywallers. People are going to go out and buy curtains and furniture. And I thought, wow, this is like invisible density happening right there. And that's only be 20,000 homes, 20,000 new affordable housing. And affordable housing is, and people come up to me all the time and say, well, what is affordable housing? And do you mean like just for the homeless? And I said, no, affordable housing is for, people, the working poor. It could be people, a young couple that just graduated from university, or a single mom that can't, a single mom, or somebody that's on disability, or there's many, many levels. But affordable housing to me is like $550 to $700, right in there. Like that's really affordable housing. So I also think that the municipality needs to really grab an affordable housing strategy, because I'm not sure how strong our plan is in HRM, because I don't see a lot of affordable housing going up now. I see a lot of big buildings, I see condos, that kind of building. I'm not quite sure where the affordable housing is happening now. So I would like to know where actually it is. So, but small granny suites everywhere. Oh, and Dartmouth also. We need to be telling people through the city of what systems right now that what areas of the city right now you could actually build an apartment. Downtown Dartmouth, there's 4,000 homes ready to go, all R2 rated. And I don't even know if they know that. So we need to say, okay, folks out there, the circle over here, you guys are allowed to make an apartment. Go for it. So I think it's about communication, but I think apartments are where it's at right now. It's quick, it's easy, and there's a lot of win-wins. Thank you.
Thanks, Lil. Mike?
So one of the things I've always done when I've been in campaigns is I try not to sort of just lean on what we've done. The problem is a lot of the things that we're talking about tonight, we talked about solutions in this room 4 years ago in front of 400 or 500 people last time. We talked about these solutions, and the things I talked about then, the city has done. And I'll tell you a little story that when I get elected, Lil's heard this a few times now because we've been sharing this stage a bit. We're getting to know each other pretty well.
Yep, true.
I went to my first council meeting and I said to the councillors, what do we want to do this term? What are your goals for the council for this term? And a number of councillors, Wayne Mason from here, Jennifer Watts and some others, and myself said housing. And right away, some of the councillors put their hands up, not our deal. In Nova Scotia, housing is not our gig. Social assistance is not our gig. Well, it is our gig. And I can tell you, in this country, the feds have the money for housing, the province have the responsibility, but the cities have the problem. You cannot divorce yourself from housing. So what do? In the notes for tonight's meeting that they sent out, they talked about the Affordable Housing Partnership. That's a partnership that I set up as mayor. And within a year of all those councillors saying housing's not our gig, unanimously we got through council a plan to form this Affordable Housing Partnership with the United Way, with the Affordable Housing Association of Nova Scotia, with a number of groups that were concerned about poverty, Shelter Nova Scotia, and with some private developers who said, you know what, we can help. And we put this together. We set up, the first time ever in the history of the city, a Housing First program. We worked with the provincial and federal governments, and we said, we're going to house people. We're going to take people off the street and give them a roof. Everything starts with a roof. If you've got mental health issues, addiction issues, other health issues, if you don't have a roof, a place to call home, a place to wake up in the morning and know you're going to go to bed that night, you can't deal with those things. You know, you're just going all day from one place to another and ending up at Hope Cottage and the Salvation Army that night. So really proud of that. The other thing we can do is the city called, we asked staff, what can we do about licensing of landlords? That's a big deal. We license dogs and we license lots of different things in this municipality, but we don't license the landlords. And we came up with a bylaw called M200, which has strengthened our power. And we've asked staff to come back with some more measures, which will include penalties. We had somebody, it was in the news this morning, that we had a landlord who was not living up to his obligations to his residents. And after months of dealing with the landlord, we went in and we closed that place. But we did it with the Department of Community Services and others to make sure that the people are housed in the meantime. But if you're going to be tough on whether you call them slum landlords or landlords that aren't doing the job, you have to step in. Fire, police, bylaw, Department of Community Services, and other agencies. We went in, and I tell you, it's not an easy thing to do, but it's the right thing to do. We did the same thing on Gottingen Street, where we have landlords who know what the social assistance rates are in this province, and they're meager. $535 is what you get. And we have landlords that will give people a place, and they get them to sign their check over every month. And there was, I think, 8 people living in what could hardly be called a room, with a door you could hardly get in. We closed it down and we took those people, worked with them, and found them a better thing. Housing is hugely important. It's the biggest and most important issue that we've identified in this group that we call the Big City Mayors Caucus, which is the larger cities. We're dealing with this. We were so pleased that we got the federal government to commit to getting back into the affordable housing business so that we can take people, work with people who are having issues with housing, and make sure that they have the opportunity to be part of everything else that we take for granted. That's what cities should do.
Thank you both. So our next question comes to us through Facebook. It's about engaging with Indigenous communities. If elected, do you support changing colonial narratives about the founder of Halifax? Would you support renaming streets, public buildings, and parks that bear the name Edward Cornwallis? And would you support introducing land recognitions at council and city events? So for reference, Charlotte started this debate with a land acknowledgement, or a land recognition. Mike, I'll ask you to go first.
Last December, I brought forward a motion to council calling on Halifax to recognize the Truth and Reconciliation Commission and recognize our role as municipalities. Councillor Jennifer Watts, who's retiring after one more council meeting, called that the proudest moment of her time in office. We don't have the percentage of urban Aboriginal population that they have in Edmonton, Winnipeg, and places like that. But we have a huge obligation to our First Nations people, the Mi'kmaq people here in Halifax. And as Lil will know, I open my remarks when I speak in places to recognize that we are on the traditional lands of the Mi'kmaq people and that we are beneficiaries of the Peace and Friendship Treaties. But part of that is we also owe Aboriginal Canadians an opportunity. It's been part of my life, been part of my public life, and as mayor, I'm proud of the fact that we're doing something about it for the first time. There are 5 recommendations of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission that Judge Sinclair came in with that specifically affect municipalities. One is to acknowledge the residential schools and to be part of any recompense on that. Another is to look at whether we can adopt the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. I think that's something that we should look at as well. The lawyers will tell you can't do it. I would say that we should do it. At the very least, we need to consider that. The other is to have cultural competency training for people so that all of our staff, as well as the community, understand why it's important, the history of the Mi'kmaq people. It's not the way it was in the textbooks in grade 6. The little blue history book that I got in grade 6 did not give a very accurate reflection of the contributions of our First Nation people. Halifax was not founded by Edward Cornwallis. It was founded and populated and lived in for thousands of years by the Mi'kmaq people. I voted this year in a council vote that we had. I voted to remove the Cornwallis name from the statue, to remove the statue. It's a contentious issue. And I think that as a community, it's a test of our tolerance that we can do more for First Nations people. I think we can work with a number of people and come up with a plan that honors and recognizes the contributions of First Nations people. I don't just think that we should do it. I believe very strongly we have to do it. And it's partly an educative process, and at some point in time, it requires a little bit of political courage to do what you think is the right thing to do. So, yeah, I think there's a whole lot more that we can do. We haven't really done it, in part because we've never had to do it. Some of us have challenged our council colleagues to have a look at all of these issues in terms of how they affect First Nations people. It's one of the reasons I'm so proud of our Office of Diversity and Inclusion. Never existed 4 years ago when we sat on this stage. I talked about it, that we should have an office dedicated to inclusion and diversity, including First Nations, African Nova Scotian, LGBTQ, people with disabilities. And so, my heart, I feel so proud of the fact that we're taking steps in this direction. It's not something that we've done before. I believe it takes a bit of political courage. At the end of the day, it's what we should be doing, and I'm proud of that.
Yep.
Thank you, Mike. Lil?
Okay. Edward Cornwallis. I want to read you a little story. A little history on what he was doing before he came to Nova Scotia. Cornwallis played an important role in suppressing the Jacobite rising of 1745 in the Highlands of Scotland. My clan, the McPherson clan, and many Scots here in Nova Scotia, their people, were part of the Jacobite rebellion. I think that's why I'm rebellious. It's in my blood. He fought as a British officer at the Battle of Culloden, making sure I get it right, Culloden in 1746. After that horrible battle was over, and you'd think that after that battle, he'd leave the women and children and people that were wounded on the field. You'd think he'd leave these people alone, but no. He was in charge and led 320 men to head north on what's known in Scotland as the Rape of the Highlands. Cornwallis's campaign was later described as one of unrestrained violence. Cornwallis ordered his men to chase off livestock, destroy crops, and food store. His soldiers used a campaign of rape and mass murder to intimidate Jacobites for further rebellious. It was a genocide. And when a soldier sends people in, an officer sends people in to rape women, he is going to the soul of the clan, because we all know that will just destroy the soul of people. Not 3 years later, here comes Cornwallis with Highland blood not still dry on his hands. A man of his time? Perhaps. War is hell, but you can still be honorable soldier, an honorable soldier. Like James Wolfe at the same battle was ordered by the Duke of Cumberland to kill and a wounded Highlander that dared to look up at him. James responded, "I'm not a murderer, I'm a soldier," and refused to kill him. Both were men of their time, one with honor, one with, it's up to you. Right and wrong has always existed. So it was no surprise to me he carried on his same campaign with the same viciousness towards the Mi'kmaq, who he considered savages, just like the Highlanders.
Hey.
Oh, not you. Okay. Savages. Not you, not you. You're not a savage. The Mi'kmaq at first welcomed Cornwallis and his company. And then in a meeting, the British told the chiefs about their settlement plans, which alarmed the Mi'kmaq about the white intrusion into their land to the extent that they renewed their war against Great Britain. Oops. In retaliation, Cornwallis decided to make it a capital offense to the Mi'kmaq, offering bounties for the scalps of men, women, and children, and for the scalps of any whites assisting them. But there was also a man of his time we are not hearing about. Edward Cornwallis's contemporary and rival, Chief Jean-Baptiste Cope, also known as Major Cope. He fought the British to stand still until Cornwallis was relieved of his post. To quote Daniel Paul, the Mi'kmaq historian, whatever one's views, it has to be acknowledged that Chief Cope fought bravely in a hostile English social environment to preserve the dignity of his people. He is remembered today by the Mi'kmaq as the hero he was. He is my hero, that's for sure. Oops, I lost my place. So I propose that we have we leave his statue there, but we add the history that he did. We add to that history, all of it. And then I propose that we have another statue at the end of the park of Cope, of Chief Cope. I think we need his statue there. How about that? Let's get Chief Cope on that land with them, on that park. You guys up for that? He needs to be there too. He was part of the history, right? Absolutely. Let's do that. Let's do that.
Thanks so much, Lil and Mike. So our next question is another video question on perhaps one of our favorite issues, tuition fees.
Hi, my name is Kathleen Reed, and I'm the president of the Dalhousie Students Union. Obviously, post-secondary education is primarily a provincial and federal jurisdiction, but with Halifax's economy so dependent on the 35,000 students who come here every year to study, they pay rent, they shop, they eat. If elected, what would you do to support students through the massive tuition fee hikes that we're seeing happen across all institutions in Halifax?
Sorry, so I will ask Lil to start us off.
Wow, tuition. I don't think actually students should even be charged interest in tuition. I really don't. That bothers me, and I've been watching my whole life students struggling with their big debts. So wouldn't it be great if we went to the banks, or maybe we could meet with different levels of government to try to convince them that maybe we need to take the interest rates off tuition. I don't believe the banks should be making money off your backs. But that's a hard thing, tuition. I mean, I guess we can try to employ as many students as we can in City Hall. I can try to employ as many people as I can as my own job. But tuition is not, I know it's not a municipal level or an issue, so that's a hard one for me. I have to think about that. But I will do everything I can to make a difference in you, for your life. So I'll bat for you, and I think the interest, I think we can go after that. But I don't have a lot to say, but I'll turn it over to you, Mike. What can we do as a mayor?
Lil raises a good point that there's different jurisdictions. Listen, let me tell you what I did when I was a member of Parliament. I was known as the Students' MP. I campaigned across the country, and we brought forward platforms in 2008 and 2011 that called for the following: a dramatic increase in the number of grants for low-income Canadians, persons with disabilities, Indigenous Canadians, the people who are most excluded from the education system. Nova Scotia has traditionally been a province of high tuition. I remember going over to speak to the Memorial University Student Council. There was 11 that showed up, and 5 of them were from Nova Scotia, and that was because Newfoundland and Labrador had made the decision back under Danny Williams that they would keep tuition low. At that point in time, it was $2,500. It was $5,500 to $6,000 here. I know the cost of tuition. My daughter goes to university, but I'm in a position where, although I might grumble about it, I can pay for the tuition I have. We also called for a plan that in 2008, when we wrote the education platform under Stéphane Dion, who we campaigned for a carbon tax as well back in that year. What we called for was no interest on student loans. No interest on student loans. And when we looked at the cost of what that brings back, it's not proportionate to the amount of people who can get student loans. If you want to go to university, and if you have the marks and the ability to go, then you should be able to go. As I say, we do a lot of work in the city now. I'm so proud of bridging the gap. We hire 18 students a year right out of university and college to give them a chance. And we put them in line departments. And every year when they start, I go and I meet with them. And I meet with them 2 or 3 times during the year. And I tell them, you got an idea, come see me. And people will come and knock on my door and say, listen, I want to talk to you about an idea. When I talk to these students from around the country and around the world, they love Halifax. And it excites me that we now have gone from a place where students had no place to work to be in a place now where employers are saying, do you have enough students? Last year, for the first time, we had a growth in the age of 25 to 39-year-olds in Halifax, a net increase of 2,600. We've been going down. The only age group that's been going up in Halifax has been over 50, and particularly 54 plus. And that's because people get older. They love it here. They stay. That's not necessarily a bad thing. But finding opportunities for students coming out of university, making sure that there's housing that's suitable while they're here, making sure that we do things. There's a new bike lane here at Dalhousie. If you look at the newspaper, you'd think the whole world is against that bike lane. But these are the kind of things the city can do to incorporate the needs of university students. As I say, it's a hugely important thing in our community, and we're working to make it easier for students in Halifax. We appreciate them being here, you guys.
Thank you both. So our next question is about arts and culture, and it comes to us from Facebook. Halifax is home to a vibrant community of artists. Every year, NSCAD University welcomes in a new generation of talent from across the country and around the world. Despite improvements in recent years, Halifax's investment in arts grants still falls short of the national average of $5 per capita. If elected, what will you do to make sure student artists have access to the funding they need to pursue their passion? And I'll ask Mike to answer first.
I love this. We talked a lot about arts and culture. Freddie Connors, who ran last time, was one of the folks who talked about this, and I talked about this. We did not have any arts council in the municipality. A lot of other municipalities had it. And one of the things that I called for was a municipal arts council, municipal arts advisory council, if you will, because we have huge, unbelievable artistic and cultural talent in this city, but in my view, the city had always been a bit of a passenger on that prosperity and not a driver off it. In the first year that I was mayor, we brought in a municipal arts council. We not only brought a municipal arts council in, we said we're going to fund arts in the community, big professional arts and small local arts. And we now fund it to the tune of $300,000. And I think the question that we were asked in the background material was, will you commit to doubling that? I'll commit to more than doubling that. I'll commit to tripling that. I think as a municipality, we can triple that funding, and we'll get the money back in vibrancy and economic. The creative economy is hugely important. And beyond that, we'll do other things. We do give subsidies to arts organizations on their property tax. We're doing something huge. I don't know if you know the Khyber Arts Society, but there was a big issue. Their building was going to be destroyed. It's a city-owned building, and a lot of people said, it's right downtown. That's developable. We can make a ton of money. And we said, no, we're not going to make a ton of money. We're going to spend money to fix it up so that artists and people in the cultural industries have a chance to benefit from that. I met this afternoon with a group of people representing the Halifax Pop Explosion, Prismatic Arts, Volta Labs, I Love Local, Gordy Stevens, Dalhousie University, and a number of others, about creating a festival in Halifax in the fall. This is an idea I've had for the last couple of years, where you take everything from the Atlantic Film Festival to Prismatic to the Pop Explosion, the Oyster Festival, all the things that are happening that are cool in the city right now, and we brand it. Austin has South by Southwest. Toronto started North by Northeast. We could call it East of Everything. I don't care what you call it. But brand it and make it exciting and make it cool. We have to look at our liquor laws and things like that. We tend to frown on fun a little bit. But I think as a municipality, we benefit so much when things happen in our community, not just in the downtown, but the downtown is a great precinct for things. People love to come to Halifax. So let's take this and make it the biggest thing possible. Look, I think arts and culture is huge in our municipality. And the work that we've done on it is, there's a lot more we can do, but holy cow, to go from zero to where we are now in 4 years is unbelievable. I'm proud of that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike. I'll turn it over to you, Lil.
My favorite subject too. I love it, and I wish I could transform you guys all right in my place in Tatamagouche, my walls are loaded with local arts. So 5 of my wonderful friends are great artists in the city here. And even outside is a lot. I have a lot of art outside. A couple of years ago, I had to take some trees down, and there was 4 of them. And I told the guy, I said, well, take them up a higher level because I want to get them chainsawed and sculpted. And so I think we can do that a lot here as well. I was just thinking the other day about all the stumps that we have that from Hurricane Juan still. We should be taking those stumps and bringing them to the art colleges, letting them sculpture them and displaying those all over the city. When down at Pier 21 a couple of years ago, when they were bringing the statue in for the Pier 21, there was a huge, big, massive stump on the trailer. And there was probably about 50 people all walking around, and everybody's more interested in this huge old-growth forest piece of wood than actual the statue. And that workman told me, he said, I can't believe the people are asking about the stump more than the statue. So it just goes to show you, we could be also an educational city as well, and taking these stumps and saying, this was our old-growth Acadian forest, and this is where this stump came from. But there's lots of things we can do. City Hall. I'd love to see some, we used to have concerts every day in City Hall, outside lunch concerts. We used to have live music every day. I'm not quite sure what happened to that, but let's get that
No,
back.
we didn't have it, we have it now.
No, we had them
Tunes at
every
noon.
day every day at lunchtime at 12 o'clock.
Tunes at noon we have.
Tunes downtown, outside?
Grand
Live
Parade.
music?
Grand Parade,
Okay,
live
very
music.
check, wonderful, good. I think also, I've been at City Hall a little bit lately, and I think we need to do an Artist of the Month. We have incredible artists here, and the walls could use some more beautiful. We could beautify the walls, and do it every month. You could have a Mayor Month artist show. Open all City Hall. I think we need to do that. We can do that 12 months a year and put them up there, put them for sale with no commission, and help the artists get along. Great.
Do that too?
Do we do that?
You do?
Okay, geez, check. Good man, we're on the same thing. We need to spread the wealth. We need to be in 16 districts. We should have live music everywhere. I've talked to a lot of musicians, and a lot of them are my friends. They play all the time on the public gardens, and they've said they really haven't seen a rise in level of music. They haven't really seen a difference. I would love to see, we put $100,000 in live music a year. That would be unbelievable. I talked to a lot of musicians. They thought if we had $100,000 for live music and spread it around to 16 different districts, from Sambro to Ecum-Secum, it's not always about Halifax. It's about the whole center. Live music just changed you. I'd love it. I got all kinds of, let me see, the big band. And I think we need a big band picnic concert on the Commons. And I was in Boston a few years ago, and they had the Philharmonic Orchestra right on the Commons, a free concert. And they had this huge big dance floor they clicked down, and everybody was having a picnic. It was free, because not everybody gets to hear the big orchestra. So wouldn't it be wonderful to have a big picnic every year? Maybe we have to look at liquor laws, and maybe people can bring their own bottle of wine, and we could just have a ball. There's lots of wonderful things. I was also involved in the bike rack contest, and I think we need to really go into the talents that we have in the city, because we have so much. A couple of years ago, I thought, well, I want more biking, I want more bike lanes, I want us to evolve. Let's just, get the students involved in designing a bike rack. So we got together, Andy Fillmore and a whole bunch of us got together and did that. We got some architectural drawings come in, and there was a little bit of a contest. And it was really fun, and they were amazing. So we picked one at the end, and now those steel hoops that go like this, bike racks, they were from the initiative that I got. But I said, let's do it every year. Let's say, okay, so this year we'll have a bike rack contest, a bicycle rack contest, put it out to all the universities, and submit them, maybe take 5 of the finalists and put the model right outside City Hall and vote on it. And they'll say, great, John Smith just won the bike rack contest in the city. We'll put his name down, give him $10,000 for a prize, and we'll do it again next year. So all of a sudden, the next 10 years, you've got all these really cool different bike racks from all the different people, the students that worked here. There's just so many creative ideas we can do to bring art into public spaces. That's another thing, too, is our public spaces so public. So we need to have open art, public spaces, music, lots. I love art and culture. I'm a drummer too, so I really like it. I'd be out drumming with them all in the front.
I'd like to see that.
You might. Thank you.
Thanks so much, folks. So our final question is another video question, and it's on public transit.
Hi, my name is Massimo Khan, and I'm a third-year IDS student at Dalhousie University. Every day, I make about an hour-long commute to school, and to work, and back and forth to wherever I need to go. I love public transit, but let's face it, it's not really reliable. And as a young person, there's many businesses here in Halifax that will not hire people who use public transportation as their means of getting anywhere is because they know that it's not reliable. So my question to you is, what will you do to change Metro Transit or help make public transit more reliable or accessible to folks like me?
Okay, and I'll invite Lil to start.
Okay, wow, big subject. There's so much to transportation. There's bike lanes, there's the train we could put on, there's our ferry hours, it's our bridge closing down. So we have a lot of challenges right now, especially with the bridge. And I actually personally have a lot of staff issues and problems of my staff getting home. And there's hotel staff and restaurant staff, and they're telling me, wow, you know, it's hard for us to get, if they miss the ferry, if they miss the last bus, or, you know, and the bridge is closed, they have to take a taxi all the way from downtown Halifax all the way to Dartmouth. So I really believe we have to immediately get the ferry to change their hours till like 3 in the morning. We have to make sure. That's the only road that we have from Halifax to Dartmouth is the ferry. So I think we really need to get on that. But we definitely need our buses. Our transit system is really broken. I really think it is. You know, it hasn't changed much in the last 25 years as much. I used to take the bus a lot and the ferry. I'm lucky I have a car now, but I do bike a lot as well. But we keep pouring money into the transit system, and it just doesn't seem to be working. So I'm thinking we need a different plan. There's a system called Bus Rapid Transit, which is really amazing. It's very successful. There's even a Bus Rapid Transit Institute. So I'd love to get the gang there and to bring them home here and help us look really at the city and changing the bus system. It's so broken, and I totally agree with that person. You know, my sister-in-law, I drive her to work once in a while, but she takes the bus from Woodlawn, and she goes from Woodlawn to Penhorn to Micmac Mall. To get to Micmac Mall, she has to take 2 buses. It takes her an hour and a half. It's a 10-minute drive. So there's lots of things we need to do. But I thought, wouldn't it be cool if we had a designated lane, if we're going to, you know, widen any lanes like the, what is it? You know, the lane that we're thinking about widening?
Bears Lake?
Thank you, Bears Lake. To have a designated lane just for buses. And I thought, well, maybe not just buses, let's put everything over there in the lane. Let's put like motorcycles and mopeds and electric cars, anything that's actually showing change. And call it the lane of change. And maybe it'll inspire the SUV drivers that are sitting in the other lane idling saying, well, geez, honey, maybe we should get a hybrid car or a motorcycle and go over the lane of change. But I think we just have to get innovative. And we absolutely have to take biking more serious. We don't do it here at all. We're doing bike lanes, yes we are, but you know, we need to bring in bikes, bike initiative where we can rent a bike. I mean, you go to different parts of the world, and even in Montreal, you can go downtown and put a quarter in and get a bike and go anywhere around. So I think we have to really uptick it. We have to definitely improve our bike lanes. Just with my staff alone, I mean, when I grew up, when I was younger, when I was 16 years old, I had a motorcycle. I drove a motorcycle, and when I was 20, I had a car. All my friends had a car. You know, very car dependent. We're not like that anymore. Half my staff don't even have their driver's license. Like, it's you guys are driving this ship, and it's exciting. Went to Copenhagen, 90% of the people, no, 90%, 40% of the people, over 40% of the people in Copenhagen bike to work. It's amazing. Wouldn't it be great if you say, God, have you ever been to Halifax? People are biking, growing food, the local economy's bustling. It'd be really great. So I think we need to really grab a hold of bike lanes really more seriously and put them different colors and bring some experts in to help us make that lane a change. So yeah, lots of work that needs to be done. Thanks. And trains, I like trains.
Thanks, Lil. Mike?
So we've had a problem in Halifax, in my view, for a number of years, which is that really our bus system was designed by politicians. It wasn't designed by traffic engineers. And we have areas that have no buses. We had areas in the core that the cost was going up, the ridership was going down. But we also had areas, folks, where we had empty buses rattling along highways where they shouldn't have been, because deals are made by politicians. We'll get a bus service here. I'll support you having a bus service there. Shortly after the last election, we started a program called Moving Forward Together, where our Halifax Transit people went out for an biggest ever consultation with people. What do you want to see in a bus system? And not surprisingly, what they found was they want a bus system that really works well.
Yeah.
But they want a bus system in the core of the city. I often tell this, but when I go to talk to people, I ask people, do you take a bus in Halifax? And not that many people do. But I ask them, when you go to Toronto, do you take a subway? And they all do. Why? Because they know if they go underground, they'll get a train. It may not be now, but if it's not now, it'll be in 4 minutes. So our new transit system, which has come to council for approval, is a plan to be transfer-based, ridership-based in the core of the city, which then has corridors out, for example, out to the airport or to Portland Hills in Dartmouth, and places like Porters Lake and Sackville, so that people can get, if they can park their car there or they can get to the bus, they can get into the city, and then they will have a reliable transit system that works. And that's what we need. That's absolutely what we need. But we also need to look at other things. This commuter rail idea in Bedford, this came about from Councillor Outhitt, who's the councillor in Bedford, and myself saying, there's a study on this, but it's tens and tens of millions of dollars. And you can't get that, you can't do that. But what if we go to VIA and talk about the fact that the rails already exist? We have trains that are being underutilized, and let's set up a pilot project for commuter rail. And that's what we've been working on with VIA. VIA's been very cooperative. They'll deal with CN, and there's a lot of pieces in this. We've got to make sure that we have places in the city where people can get on and off the trains and all that sort of stuff. But that's absolutely what we should be doing. I think it's very important. And also with our transit, two things I'm proud of. Number one, we just brought in a low-income transit pilot plan where we're saying to people, you know what? If you can't afford transit, and it may not seem like a lot of money, but on the meager social assistance rates we have in Nova Scotia, a lot of people can't afford it. So we're piloting a project for low-income transit, which I'm kind of excited about, which I think is really very positive. But we're going to expand that. That's going to be, that's a really important thing. The other thing is that our bus system by next year will be 100% accessible. Now, that wouldn't have been imaginable 4 years ago. So we're making sure that everybody has access to the buses. On bikes, you know what? We now have 110 kilometers of bike trail in Halifax. That's not something people thought was imaginable. I remember being at a cycling sort of a debate that we had in the last election where people said we should try to get to 100 kilometers of bike lane by the next election, and we're at 110. But I'll tell you, every time you put a bike lane in, there are people that say, why are you doing that? It's not just about who's biking now, and it's going to be who's biking in 5 years. How do we get people? If you want people to come across the bridge, you got to fix the McDonald Bridge Bikeway. It's going to cost us millions of dollars, but it's worth it. I led that initiative to bring it to council, to get council to say, you know what, that makes sense. So we want to have people walking. Lil said she loves trains. I love trains. It's not that complicated, right? The new ways of moving people are the old ways of moving people. Walking, biking, trains. We can do this. We can have a city that has transit that is unbelievable, that's accessible, that's affordable, that operates in the routes that it should, that follows our regional plan, which says densify the core of the city and have corridors that go out to these areas where you have complete communities. And by the way, you can take transit out to, you can come downtown on a bus, which is beautiful, or you can go out to Blue Mountain, Birch Cove, which is beautiful, and you can do them both on a bus. And to me, that's the kind of city we want to have, a sustainable, green, progressive city with lots of fun and lots of things to do. Thank you very much.
And seniors go for free. I think seniors should have free. If you're a senior, I think you should have a free bus ride forever. That's it.
Thank you both. So we'll now give candidates 2 minutes each to make any closing remarks that they have to students and youth. Mike, I'll invite you to start.
Well, look, first of all, I want to thank Dallas Student Union and CFS for the opportunity to be here tonight, to be here with Lil. This is our third or fourth time to be on the stage together. As I've said, there's a lot of things as a city that we can do better. But when I see people coming to Halifax from Syria, from places where they faced unbelievable deprivation, hardship, poverty, torture, and come to this city, and I've gotten to know a large number of these people, and I see our city through their eyes, I realize the opportunity that we have. We do have a great city. We have a great location. We have great, young, talented workforce. We have 7 post-secondary institutions that are based here in Halifax. There aren't many cities that have that. We're a perfectly located gateway, and now, you know, we are a cost-competitive place to do business, and we're the second fastest growing city in Canada. But more important than building just a bigger city is building a better city, is building a city that respects the natural environment, that respects the heritage that has, on whose shoulders we stand, and allows us to be proud of where we are. And, you know, when I look at the options that are in front of this municipality, and I see the urban core, I see the suburbs, and, you know, we're a big city. We're the size of Prince Edward Island. There's no other city as big as a province. Let's start looking at those things that we're doing right. Let's be proud of those things we're doing right. We're being recognized for doing things correctly, for being a green champion, for being a growth city, for being a leader in diversity and allowing people to achieve the options and the opportunities that exist. There's an awful lot that we can do. We can be with the most fair city in Canada, and I'm excited. I've been honored to be the mayor of this municipality. I'd be honored if I was given the opportunity to continue that work. I'm proud to be the mayor. I can't think of a better job in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Lil?
I'm going to go back to my first opening speech, is the reason why I'm doing this. I really feel in my heart that we are at a crisis in this world. Being a climate change presenter, my finger is very close to the pulse of climate change, the changing of the climate. And it affects us deeply all the time. The weather, a couple of years ago, when we had all those storms, it affected business. It affects everything, our food, our energy, our business, our lives, walking around, everything, drought, what's happening right now. And it makes me nervous, but I know we can be better as a city. Maybe we won the best municipality in Canada, but that's not really great because Canada's really not known in the world as being great stewards of the environment. I've been in the conferences. We won the first 2 years. We won fossil fuel award of the day, which is of all the countries. That's what there's an award, and it's not a very good award. It's called the Fossil Fuel Award. We won that twice in 2 days in a row at a climate conference. So not a lot to brag about. But we need to change. And when I see the green economy sweeping towards Nova Scotia, I want to be ready because you guys are that change, all those jobs. But as a municipality, I don't think we're ready. And I think we need to do a lot of cleanup in City Hall to prepare for this tsunami of jobs. Clean out the bylaw box, clean out the red tape team, get down, roll up our sleeves, get busy, and be as fast as we can on change. We don't have much time. This is our time. We have a lot at risk, and we have opportunities and a lot to lose the next 4 years. There's a lot at risk, but we can do good things, and I love this city. Thank you. Nope. Anyway, I'm very proud to be sitting up here and even throwing myself in the ring here. And it's really an honor to run, and you get a chance to talk to the city for a couple of months. So it's really quite an honor, and it's a hell of an experience. I think everyone should try it. But I'm proud of you guys. I'm proud of you students. I'm rooting for you. I'm with you. You are the change. You are the generation. You'll be known as heroes in this world. They'll be singing about you and writing about you and all these wonderful things. But thank you for being the wonderful people that you are, and go get them. I'm with you. Thanks.
Thanks so much to both Lil and Mike for joining us tonight. Now, before we end tonight's event, we're going to draw for the prize from our Candidates Fair Bingo. A reminder that is a pass to the Halifax Pop Explosion. It looks like your odds are pretty good, honestly, if you played the bingo game. Oh, drum roll, please. Terrific. And the winner of a pass to the Halifax Pop Explosion is AJ Ganul. Woo, congratulations. We don't actually have your prize on stage, but I would invite you to see Amina to get your prize afterwards. Congrats.
And that wraps up tonight's debate on youth and student issues. Can we get another round of applause for our mayoral candidates?
Thank you.
So through our Generation Vote campaign, students will play a major role in deciding the future of our city. If you haven't already, I would encourage you to take out your phone, go to generationvote.ca, and pledge to vote. You'll be joining hundreds of students and youth who have already made this pledge. I'd also like to thank the event staff of the Dalhousie Students Union for setting up the room and making tonight possible.
And I'd now like to invite everyone to join us for our social across the street at the Muse Cafe and Pub. For folks who don't know, that's located on the ground floor of the Grad House, directly across Le Marchand Street from this building. The social is an opportunity for us to continue conversations started here tonight. And I also understand that the Muse will be serving some cool municipal-themed cocktails. Thanks, everyone, and have a great night.
Oh my God, okay, here we go, Mike. And where to go?
Thanks so much for joining us. I'm sorry that